There's this sort of paradox that for ages has been puzzling me, which is for the first time in history, amazingly, despite having more people on the planet than we've ever had before, it's also the first time that in theory we should be able to get everybody to eat and have enough food. And yet we've got this extraordinary problem of just massive obesity and massive malnourishment, even with obesity at the same time. And it's just really odd as to what's going on. And there's a very simplistic answer to this, which is just to criticize big food and to go on about ultra-processed foods and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, to an extent that's right, but it's sort of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater a bit. And I think really what you want to focus on is something slightly more subtle, but much more substantial, which is crudely the difference between scoffing, which is what big food wants you to do, and savouring, which is what we're all about in craft chocolate and all the other foods and drinks, which are all about trying to get you to be more healthy, but also to eat foods which are better for you, better for the farmers, and better for the planet. And let me just try and unpack a little bit about what I mean by this, and that's what we're going to try and do in the blog too. So scoffing, and that's an English word, and there are lots of other words for it, like the Japanese call it gatsu gatsu, and the Americans call it scoffing. But it's basically just uncontrollable eating. And it's something which big food isn't necessarily evil, but they're definitely trying to get you to scoff. Because scoffing is relatively simple. All you need to do is just appeal to the bliss point, sugar, salt, and fat, bit of sensory specific satiety, and human beings just don't know how to stop scoffing. And so we overeat all sorts of stuff that, yeah, candidly, just isn't that healthy. And it's not healthy because not just do we overeat, but sometimes some of the stuff in it isn't that great for us. And the alternative to this isn't to sort of like go out and ban everything which is ultra-processed, although there are lots of things that we should try and cut down on, like sugar. It's a little bit more subtle. It's to basically step back and think about the difference between taste and flavour. Think about the difference between scoffing and savouring. Taste is something which most of the time, most ways, you do with your tongue. You get sweetness, you get sourness, you get saltiness, you get bitterness. It's something which hits you very, very fast. It's also really, really easy for big food to manipulate and play with this because they know how to optimize anything just to get you to scoff it because your taste senses love it. Flavour is very different. Flavour is actually your sense of smell, but through your mouth. And we don't have a vocab to be immediately able to describe it or to articulate it. But once you learn to do that, once you learn to look for it, you can get balance, you can get length, you can get intensity and complexity. And flavour is also nature's way of showing that you've got all those amazing phytonutrients. So let's take something like polyphenols. So there's some great advice. Avoid chocolate that's too high in sugars. Yes, you definitely should. Look at the ingredients list. Yes, but the ingredients don't actually tell you anything about the polyphenols. The only way you can find that out is either to send your chocolate off for a lab test, which is incredibly expensive, which you can't really do, or learn to savor. Because what keeps the polyphenols in chocolate, on the one hand, is the way they've been crafted, so you don't want too much heat, you don't want to be alkalized, and secondly, the way they've been farmed. You want them not to have been farmed with tons of fertilizers, poor soil, loads of pesticides. You want the flavor to come out. That's the sign that something is healthy. And this is also more fun. Now, it takes a bit of time to do, but once you do it, it's got a whole bunch of benefits. You're going to eat less because you're going to focus more on the flavor. It's going to take a bit longer. You're also going to eat more of the good stuff, and you're going to understand what is good about it. And in the blog, we've got some extraordinary examples about this is actually how we and other animals are trained to eat. We're trained to know what's good for us. But we've got to get away from just scoffing ultra-processed food. If you want to know more about this, we've got some really simple tools. We've just developed the next iteration of what we call our flavor wave. Download it from the site. Come to a tasting to find out more. But once you do this, you can do it not just for chocolate, but you can do it for any food which has got blick, balance, length, intensity, complexity. Any food where you learn to articulate the flavor is going to be good for you. So take the flavor wave and just try and apply it. Thanks.